The Talia ban coming out right against Lava. Not want to let him get that pick, but we have to address the champions that have been appearing in other games. The Caitlyn, the Zac, and most of all, the Elise. We have seen what Umti can do on Elise. I really do not want to see ROX Tigers give that pick up. Enough is enough. Both these teams can make the most out of this champion. Her early game prowess is unrivaled. Her synergy in compositions is spectacular, and it just makes games go out of control in a heartbeat. One kill that she gets, the jungle becomes hers, and you do not look back.
Kuzan fighting. Kuzan had some pretty spectacular performances in the mid lane against SKT.
Did it take 4 signs to say Kuzan fighting?
Yeah, they actually needed more signs, but they made fighting into a smaller form to just fit it. But Kuzan is only 2 syllables.
There it is.
Made it work.
At least first pick. Pack it up, boys.
We're going home early tonight, guys. Yeah, I mean, this is no surprise, really. And yeah, you have to question, right? I mean, how many times is it going to go to a blue side and have that blue side just smash face with that Elise?
See, the thing is, okay, Caitlyn, you're definitely not giving up. That one we understand. Zac, definitely not giving Zac up. Kalista, I think, is the one that you can question with Elise as well. Do you give up the Kalista and Elise to try to counter one or the other? And at least Kalista is contained within the laning phase and in team fights, whereas Elise influences every single element of the game, and that's why I hold her in a higher position than Kalista, because she can just do so much so often. Her synergy with everything else is perfect. And then you've got Cocoon to top things off, where mid laners are forced to take cleanses. If QSS isn't bot, then you can just get popped right away. She can kill all your tanks. She's just so powerful as an all-around jungler and as a first pick because it hides everything.
This guy says, again today, let's see some King T. So, I mean, he's probably going to get it for game number 1 with this Elise. And you guys can see that the ROX Tigers did fight back with a Rek'Sai and Xayah pick on their side, but immediately going to go over here. We will see Teddy on the Varus and Snowflower on the Braum.
It's really curious to see so much attention to the Xayah. I thought that when the Kog'Maw meta was starting to hit, that teams would be prioritizing that pick, but it seems like the attempts from Afrika to make Xayah as meta as possible have paid off, and everybody else is trying to pick these champions up. You have the value in this, but it feels like the Kog'Maw has an easier time executing damage when it comes to a team fight, whereas Xayah is so much more reliant on keeping track of your feathers, of utilizing your spells properly, and so far, the champion is cool, but it feels underwhelming. I don't know if you're on the same boat as me on this, but it really, like, for the priority that it's been given, I don't think that the results are there to match.
It's an interesting spot because it's an 80 carry. You know, you look at Featherstorm, and it's kind of like a built-in long invulnerability stage. So it's like you don't have to build this gigantic front line to keep her alive. You don't have to play around that Xayah pick. So she's kind of just like a backliner that does consistent damage, can root people, and actually do a nice job with her Featherstorm at times when you are ahead in fights. But when you're defensive and you're trying to get away, the Xayah basically doesn't or can't get focused down just because of that ability, and definitely allows you to be a bit more safe from the 80 carry position.
True, but then you have a pick like Tristana, who has a better laning phase for just pushing out, and then defensively she can jump and use her Buster Shot to peel for somebody else as well, whereas Xayah is a completely self-peel champion. I do think that that's why we have seen a little bit more priority in that one, and KT prioritizes Tristana over the Xayah. They did lose that game too with the pick, so I'm really hoping that Sangyun pulls through here. ROX Tigers has been focusing so much on making him the star of the team now that Mickey has left. So if anybody can do it, it could likely be the ROX Tigers to finally sell us on Xayah being as godly as she has been with the first and second picks in every single time that she has been rotated, at least as of recently. But instead, they will have the Jarvan, and they have some great synergy with engaging so far.
Yeah, but still liking the side of Jin Air. You got the Renekton pickup for that very common 1-2 punch in the top lane. Renekton Elise is one of the easiest ganks to just line up onto pretty much anyone. It's going to really rely on Shy being on the ball and knowing the rotation times and stuff like that, gank timings. And Kuzan, we saw his Lucian before. We're going to see it again here. He did play it in game number 1 against SKT, I believe, and really did pop off. So.
And I like their Lucian pick because it's with the Braum. Normally, these double AD carry compositions struggle a lot in the mid and late game to make anything happen without any engage. But when you have Braum, you're guaranteed that multiple members can start proccing those passives as quickly as possible, and they just start dropping like flies when you can do so much damage, keep everybody at bay. So I like that fact, and then it's also combined with the Renekton and the Elise topset. However, the mid and late game from Janair might struggle when you're dealing with the Karma mid. The heavy amount of shields that are going to be going out, and how difficult it might be to latch onto an individual target because these are short-range AD carries. It might prove that the 5v5 for ROX Tigers will be in their favor when you consider that Shy will itemize almost purely armor with maybe Merc Tread. Actually, not even Merc. Let's go with Tabi all the way. Full armor Jarvan, and he's going to take a long time to go down.
Yeah, full armor. Gargoyle Stone Plate eventually, and definitely will be a scary Shy, but he has to get there. He has to make it into the late game. He has to survive. He can't really get ganked. We know that Janair is going to be focusing him down. And the question really is can they survive past that point in time to make it through? ROX, they haven't been the most solid team in LCK so far, but I hope they remember just this one idea, because we've seen teams from the top to the bottom have trouble with this.
I hope they remember, but I'm feeling Janair on this time around when you have the Lucian that's taken Ignite into a teleport Karma. She doesn't have cleanse, and she's up against an Elise. If she does get hit with a Cocoon, she is fodder, and if Lucian starts snowballing, the Rek'Sai will not have a chance of actually ganking this lane. He'll just dash out and turn it. So Janair have so many tools early on. It's going to be up to whereas for them, for the ROX Tigers, the laners need to play safe, to play very respectful, and preferably wait for an item time where someone has wards and can keep track of everyone.
Well, here we go, guys. Starting up game number 1 right now. Janair Greenwings versus the ROX Tigers. Janair, they basically need to win every single team. They have to beat every single team to get into playoffs, and even then, they're not guaranteed a spot.
You ever do a push-up like this?
Yeah, with the giant chimney on my back, of course.
Yeah, one hand.
Who hasn't?
One hand.
Wearing a giant Santa suit?
You haven't?
No, I'm saying I have.
How many
Did you
reps?
have the 2 energy balls, though, that help him out?
Oh, I definitely had that.
I think that's the coolest part. He keeps going, man. He doesn't even look tired at all.
I mean, look at the, honestly, calf size. I'm trying to see if he's skipping leg there or not. I feel like he's an upper body kind of guy. I don't think he's been skipping that, though. When you're lodging around a big-ass fireplace, you inherently get some muscle down there, vascular.
I mean, you have to, right? Even though it doesn't quite show on the model. It's actually very weird. He looks very skinny from behind. But we don't really need to get a close look, as the biggest leash you could ever hope for is in store for MT as they leash Raptors into the red. Although they're not going to stick around for all too long, so they'll leave the rest of the red to MT.
Yeah, goodness, that was a big leash. Typically, you see the duo lane just get the red buff as low as possible, not help with the Raptors and the red buff, so they went for a little extra something to make sure that he gets off early, and it's exciting because now we get to see what he can do. We already know that tempo-wise, he is going to be ahead of Seonghwan. He's already on the 3rd camp, where Seonghwan is just about to finish his 2nd. He does have a good angle into the top side after this, and this might just look just what we saw from Score and Smeb against Smart. And that's a level 2 Rek'Sai. Wait, he's got XP on this.
Yeah, he must. I mean, he's going straight for the Scuttle Crab. There's level 3, and the fastest top side jungle that you can hope for coming in here, but just pings down Umti and backs away. So knows that the Elise is not top at this point in time, at least, and so they will just go back to farming.
You typically see that experience thing be run on the red side in order to keep up with the acceleration that the bottom lane can give to the dual lane, because if he hits level 2 off that Raptor, or he stays level 2 off that Scuttle Crab, he's going to be quite weak. He's not going to be able to provide a whole lot for his team, and now he gets to see heading over. This is a fresh tunnel. Oh, they're thinking about someone.
Yeah, it seems like Jinner knows that they were spotted too, and just going to lay down a couple of wards and confirm that someone was up towards the top side. So no action just yet. Both of the junglers going to go for a decently quick recall. You can see the ward over there placed by probably Snowflower. Does spot that no one's over there just yet. So they know that he went for the recall.
One of the most obnoxious things about Rakan is just how flashy this guy is.
I mean, he is wearing a giant cape, right? That's what he's.
No, I mean,
that's what he's known for.
He's like filled with light animations that might blind you if you don't see what's going on. Someone is not burrowed. He's gonna get cocooned here.
Yeah, the spider goes in first, and there's the cocoon for the follow-up. We'll see if he decides to tunnel flash away. Is going to tunnel into the knockup and then flash away. Nicely done by Someone to make sure that he survives. But at the same time, will pick up the rest of his jungle.
That was a very smart flash. He knows that would have been able to follow through with his own flash, so he keeps himself alive, but does lose out on those 2 camps. And this now means that Jinner's got a timer on both these objectives. They are going to be able to push into the bottom side a lot. The Renekton, while you would have expected that lane to be focused, might now be just a lane that you let push 24/7 while focuses on the bottom side of the map. This side can now yield significant results. And if you can deny a blue buff from Karma consistently, you can grow the lead that Kuzan has already amassed. He's 15 CS up on Lava, and he has yet to use his teleport, so he's just not capable of last hitting that well into the tower.
Yeah, well, Lava just maybe a little bit too much respect, but it's the respect that's needed when you're going up against this Ignite Lucian in this lane. But Kuzan quickly becoming more and more consistent in a lot of these games, really does win his lane a lot of the time. I don't have the stats in front of me, but I just get that feeling watching him in recent times. Definitely becoming a lot more reliable as a mid laner. And even picking up new picks and stuff like that. I mean, now bringing in Lucian, showing that he can play the Lucian very reliably as well. Not something that everybody can do from the mid lane.
Yeah, he has played the Lucian before, though, so it's not a complete new pick for him. But he is up against Karma. Come on, out of all champions, Karma mid without teleport. With teleport, she has to respect the Ignite, as you said, but she only has 1 damage spell. If she messes up the wave with that spell, by the time that it crashes to the turret, which is what Lucian's been doing all game, she's not capable of last hitting because the damage is not there. She's waiting on her cooldowns before she can start autoing and prepping, because Lucian just walks up, zones her away, gets some damage with the cheeky Q, and as a result, he's 14 CS up.
Yeah, playing the lane well, and nice double knock up here from P, but not going to amount to anything just yet. Feather's not in position, but they do a nice bit of damage. And you can see what MT's trying to do from the mid lane. He's trying to invade, trying to get those wards down, but someone's doing a nice job so far of just avoiding MT and saying, okay, you're not going top. Can't really find much success anywhere else. I know you might come into my jungle. Let me just play it a bit passive, farm it up, and we want to push this one towards the later parts of this game.
That's exactly what the ROX Tigers wants to do. Early in the game when we saw the draft, I was saying the ROX Tigers need to get someone to get some vision. You don't let Elise have early game action, and then you're in a much better spot. The lanes have found themselves a little bit behind in CS, and now they're thinking about diving Shai. That's 100-0 on a Jarvan. This is going to be a little bit tough, but they're going.
Okay, here comes the stun. Immediate teleport in from Lava, but look at that burst damage coming out. That it will be the first blood. Does go over to the Elise. And MT will finally get that kill on the top lane.
I get the feeling Shai wanted to die in that one. I think he could have outplayed them so hard. He still could have just used his flag and drag to save that. He had his flash available to flash out of a spell. So overall, I do think that there was a lot more that Shai could have done to avoid dying to that. He does get the teleport out of Lava, which is unfortunate, as now he's going to be even further behind in that lane against Lucian. And while Rek'Sai holds mid lane, gets a steal. This is why you never, or typically avoid going for holding turrets as a jungler, because you give your position away, they can plan your next route, they track you out where you leave, they see your itemization, they pretty much know so much about you, and the opposing jungler can do whatever he wants. And a big part of that is that counter jungling, and I hope we get to see a replay of that dive, because I do think that Shy could have been able to outplay that.
Yeah, I would have to agree. I mean, he just, maybe it was a bit of panic as they both collapsed on top of him, and he didn't really react in time. Sometimes when you're dealing with a lot of stress, sometimes you just shut down. But Shy, he's a big veteran. As you were talking about, I do want to see the replay to just confirm exactly what that was. But either way, another thing that happened was the Karma actually used her teleport, which we don't see all that often when the Karma does take teleport. But it was kind of funny because she got there late, even though she teleported in right as she could have. Wasn't quite on time.
She didn't get anything, and now ROX is going to go for the swap on that one. It's a good move. They don't want to start bleeding away any advantages there. The CS has already been amassed, and it's a good timing because the bottom lane from Jin has also paid, so they're not going to miss a whole lot out of this. And although it is a 4-man against Sohan, which if he isn't there, they're not going to be able to kill anybody. I want to point out the Elise purchase, the boots, because he had boots before he got a kill, so he was just roaming around looking for anything he could find because all the lanes were already pushed and accounted for. So the likelihood that he would die to a Rek'Sai is minimal, and he gets to set himself up for the dive that we saw into the top side where he was there first, even though Rek'Sai was around. Lava.
Oh boy, he's going to get double hit, and the Ignite should tick down. Lava, man, just not respecting that Lucian as we thought he would be.
And you just don't think you'd live to see the day where Lava is set on fire and it actually dies.
Yeah, that was the case there. Poor guy. But not much he can do. And all of a sudden, Sungwon in a bad situation. Snowflower is going to exhaust, but doesn't really get anything down in time. He's not level 6, so he couldn't go for any Glacial Fissure. Meanwhile, MT just soloing the Infernal Drake, and ROX doesn't even have vision over here, so he should be able to take this one down.
This has been great from Jin. They are playing the macro quite well with the lane swap call. Now the dual lane had no choice, and we're going to look at the replay onto the mid lane. This is after he went for the call. So even though Lava gets to flash out of the piercing light, he does not walk away immediately. Instead, he lingers, gets hit with the double tap, and ends up dying. Otherwise, he would have lived.
Okay, now it seems that ROX is respecting the possibility for MT to come over here, and they do see him moving now, so going to go back on that dive. Not going to do it this time around. Although MT is sticking around, wants to steal this Gromp. Immediately, Shy makes moves over towards here, and MT will respect it and back away. But as I say that, Kuzan makes his way over. 3 men are coming in, and they won't find any kills.
Yeah, but they do find pressure, and that pressure I want to see be used into the mid lane. I think Kuzan is going to be the window for Jin to just crack this game wide open. He's already significantly far ahead over Karma with a level up, almost a Blade of the Ruin King completed, and he's just built for complete combat, whereas Karma, she's just waiting for her to get the Morellonomicon. It's going to be a good purchase for her, but the second that she's in range of Lucian and he has enough backup, he can just dash up, go for the all-in immediately, and as long as Elise is there, then Jin will win this fight every time.
Roaming here from Snowflower. He comes up with Teddy up in the top lane, maybe a response to that swap that we saw to the Tigers, and they start the Rift Herald, but it will not be focused down. Lots of plays that teams are trying to make, but respect's shown here by Jin as they are only about 1,000 gold ahead, so not going to go for any crazy plays just yet. And I mean, the mid lane kind of feels like when you're in solo queue, you have a player who just like picks himself into a counter pick. You know, he counter picks himself in a way going into the lane, and then he just gets crushed, and you're like, well, I don't know what to tell you, man. Couldn't really help, and so on. He hasn't really been helping either. Doesn't seem like they're confident to take the 2v2 potentially with the Elise around, so they're kind of just letting it happen.
You pretty much never take the 2v2 against Elise. There's few champions that can actually beat her, and those are typically Lee Sin, the Kazakhs, just a lot of overwhelming damage that can dodge her initial kind of rotation. But that's what happens when you're up against Elise. You understand that you don't have the early game. This early game does not belong to ROX Tigers. Their composition will come online when they can group as 5, when a Mantra, when the Inspire is huge and allows Rek'Sai to get into the fight, for a Jarvan to combo in with a big Cataclysm, and ideally then you have an Inner Flame to just burn everybody inside the pit. But the amount of steps that are necessary and the amount of things that Jin Air have to do to allow that to happen are so drastic that we can almost never see that play happening just because of how rare it is. You know, every member barring Teddy can dash out a Cataclysm.
Yeah, Teddy's going to have a ton of protection too. I mean, you got a decent front line of the Braum Renekton that will get in the way, and they have a lot of CC, so even if, you know, he gets trapped in, he will have people to help him out. And it's kind of hard to even set that up, and Shy might be trying to dive the back line if he really wants to get onto the Varus that badly, so we'll see if they can actually execute when it does come down to the team fights, as we do get later on in this game. Jenner already picked up one Infernal Drake, and we got a second one on the way, so not the best Drakes for the Tigers. If they wanted to just totally concede the early game, they would definitely hope for something a little bit less daunting, such as 2 Infernal Drakes early on.
Watch this. They're going to dive Shy. Does he respect it? He has a feeling, has an inkling. All right, so he backs away, but Jin Air making, once again, great moves. They are going to be trading towers, though. Jin Air might try to defend this. Oh, the TP.
Oh, they are committing to this hardcore, but the big glacial fissure, and look at that damage, the Void Rush coming out here, but Sowon, he's getting so low, they can't quite take him out, though. In comes Sowon, trying to join the fight, will be able to take out Key. Meanwhile, it's Teddy versus the world. We'll pick off one. Sowon trying to get out of this, but uh-oh, it's totally turning in Jin Air's favor now as Kuzan enters the fight. Shy gonna get stunned up there as he goes for the flag and drag. Doesn't look like they want to dive here. And Sowon actually will get away doing the Wolves. Looks like they'll just let him get away here.
It was one big counter jungling scheme. That's what the ROX Tigers wanted to go for. We gotta let Sowon get those Wolves, but they also lose a tier 2. The red buff on Elise actually allows her to push down this tower. She's surprisingly good at taking down turrets. The attack speed on Skittering Frenzy, plus her red buff and the little spider links do so much damage to the tower, so Jin Air just blow the game wide open from a play from the ROX side. 3 turrets?
What happened?
Jesus.
Well, they got the bot turret, and then they got the bot tier 2, then they got mid, and now they're going to get top. They save their top tier 1. They get, what, 4 kills? 3 kills, it looks like? The ROX Tigers only get 1 kill for that entire play. And you guys get to see it all happen once again in 1080p HD.
So the teleport ward isn't optimal, and the great Glacial Fissure knocks up 3 members, but they play it right. They stand at the tower, they wait for everybody to come in, and that's how you want to do this when you're Jin Air. And they recognize it, but they have every member possible collapsing onto this play. Even though Sowon does get to make it out with his life, Sangyun is not so lucky, and Shy, well, he gets cold.
He was
in the end, he gets to walk out as well. He is tanky.
Yeah, so all of a sudden, the door is wide open. All that Jin Air has to do is just walk in, because they took out all of those very important turrets. They have a big push potential now down in bot lane. They can easily send Elise over to get that Infernal Drake, maybe even after that rotate over to Rift Herald, because Tigers, again, they conceded early game, and now they're 7,000 gold behind. So now they 100% concede early game, and maybe even mid-game. Might look like a Jin Air game from spring, where they kind of just like were passive and let everything happen. They were like, oh, I don't know what I'm doing, and kind of just died.
Well, but Jin Air has definitely changed their style, as they are just crushing ROX here, and I gotta say, it's pretty much over at this point. They don't have an answer against Kuzan, and they're so far behind in CS, and you know, I hate when I do this, when I have to always criticize leaving up Elise, but there is currently no early game jungler that has an answer to Elise, especially on blue side. Stop doing it. That's it.
You got to create a
It's
public
time
service
to
announcement.
stop. You cannot leave. My solo queue people ban Elise more than in LCK.
Yeah, it's actually kind of true.
Yeah, it's like permaban in solo queue.
Yeah. Then again, all 5 bans are at the beginning, but either way, I would agree. I think you gotta begin taking away this Elise.
The thing is, it's the flexibility that this champion has that makes her so powerful in the draft. Sure, as a fighter, as a ganker, as a jungler, she's so strong too. But because you lock in Elise, pretty much any composition you draft around her, as long as they have a nice mix of damage, is decent. You have CC, even a poke comp does make some sense because she can cocoon and keep people at a distance. But a champion like Rek'Sai, yes. Rek'Sai, if she jumps Elise, it will kick Elise's ass any day of the week. But her composition needs to have so much more attention to the synergy that you have with Rek'Sai in order to make it work, that it becomes almost a burden or a liability when you have these drafts that just don't allow you to do as much as you want or be as creative as it would be beneficial to the way that the draft is shaping up to. And until teams recognize this, I think we're still going to see Elise dominating games time and time again.
Yeah, and I'm sure there are some people out there that are like, but the Elise is only 1-0. But they're definitely ignoring a lot of points that you did just mention. I like how the Rift Herald was pulled super far out by Jinair. They're really not taking any chances, and they know the leash range on that. So pretty cool to see this team being so well practiced coming through.
It does have a leash timer on it.
Yeah. So
you kind of know.
You kind of just get it, I suppose. I just wanted to. I just really like their play. Either way, they do have the Rift Herald. They're going to be pushing into mid now and shouldn't do all too much damage as ROX is grouped up as a team and it does kind of turn around here midway. But they're just trying to follow up on that damage now as a team. Just begin poking in, begin pressuring.
It's unfortunate that they used the Herald when the minion wave wasn't there, as it just got deleted instantly. Had it been with the minion wave, there's a good chance it could have blocked a lot of Lava's spell damage. You could have potentially taken the turret in a faster time window, as now they have to wait for the 3rd wave to crash into this tower before they go for it, but it's likely that they'll get it here. Snowflower will block the Q.
Even the Chain of Corruption, they want to take out this jungler. He's extremely low, but he does flash away. Good engage here from Shy, but he runs into the Unbreakable, can't make it through, and he will go down to Kuzan in the end of it all with assists from everybody on the side of Jinair. So they get that 1 kill, but a lot of them are low. We'll see if they continue pushing.
That was so close to being a hideous play from Jinair, but they hold the aggression. They do not overstep. They deal damage to whoever is closest, and now they get a kill. They also get the turret, and they get to retreat without losing anything in return. So overall, the patience that this team is showing has been paying off. That's a 9,000 gold lead. Okay, 8,400 for those mathematically proficient. But still, Jinair have been playing so well this game. They're playing the macro, and that's a strength that I like about this team, and it shows, again, even in their micro, the decision to focus on the objective is always there. Chains of Corruption starts when everybody's clumped up, so it forces the Xayah disengage immediately, and while the Cataclysm does trap everybody, and Teddy is forced to flash, Renekton and Braum can easily get out, and the hero at the end ends up being Kuzan, going with that love tap onto the Jarvan, getting him a kill, and that first tier 2.
Yeah, I like that target selection. Like, someone just gets a tiny bit out of position. They're like, no, you're dead. We just have too much pick. Unfortunately, the cocoon did miss from Umti. Had he put that down, they could have potentially gotten someone too. And that could have led to greener pastures, perhaps. But still in a pretty nice spot here is Jinair. They got that 3rd Infernal Drake about to spawn. If I were them, they're just in such control of this game. You might as well just wait till that spawns, take it, and then say, okay, ROX, what are you going to do? You want to fight us? Triple Infernal. We're 8,000 gold ahead. Go ahead. Take a fight.
Their team fighting right now is really strong. They're super spiked with the Black Cleaver and Blade onto the Lucian mid, whereas Karma just got Merc Treads and Morello Nomicon, and it's curious to see these Merc Treads purchases because there is a lot of stuns, right? You've got Braum, you've got Elise, and wait a minute.
Okay, Snowflower immediately puts up that Unbreakable. Look at how tanky he is. They can't do any damage to him. It looks like he might go down in the end, but they're certainly going to trade kills. Lava is going to eat it as well. Down go 2 members of the ROX Tigers. That should be a pretty nice Baron. We'll see if they immediately go for it. They just got to zone out someone here, and it should be theirs.
And that's what happens when you're running these compositions that don't have a lot of damage. Xayah takes some time to start cracking people. Karma wasn't there. She's the main DP. Well, she was, but it's just 1 damage spell. She doesn't have anything to actually kill anybody.
Felt like she wasn't there.
Yeah, she's going with the Ardent Sensor now, so there's just no looking back for ROX
Now she's
Tigers
not
here.
there.
They have gone with a free fall, a free dive into the Abyss here. No DPS, and Shy's hacking away at the dragon, but it's a consolation prize. Before, it was the treasure of Jynaren, but one man's treasure is another man's garbage, and so they discard it and get a Baron instead.
Yeah, there are bigger fish to fry here for Jynaren. And that immediate Unbreakable, it seems like he kind of knew that was there. And yeah, the Xayah damage is just not enough. That 1 Manta Q almost kills Snowflower, but is it worth it in the end? The answer is no.
Never worth it. Never worth it. Just pick damage dealers, guys. Don't give up Elise.
Yeah, there's definitely some work to be done from some of the lower half of LCK teams. Definitely drafting problems, decision-making problems, and definitely see a couple of them here. I mean, this game was blown wide open when the Tigers committed under turret to try to kill the Braum, and like 3 of them just got knocked up, and then all of a sudden they were in a terrible spot. And obviously their draft is not really working out for them.
This is one of those VOD reviews where you go into it and then you're thinking, all right, how bad was it? And then coach tells you, well, you know, up until the 15-minute mark, you guys are actually only about 1,000 gold behind. Oh, and then what happened? Well, you lost like 8K instantly. That's where it all went wrong.
Yeah, 4 turrets and 3 kills.
On the bright side, it makes your VOD review pretty short, although I do not think that the ROX Tigers will have a short review for this one because they need a little bit more work on what they have been playing so far. I think that the draft, again, is a point of question for this team. The Karma mid lane, I truly do not understand in combination with the Xayah, but an engage.
Did I get onto Teddy here, but is it enough? No, the heal comes out, and immediately Jynaren says, okay, come at me, bro. See what you can do. And smartly, I think here, ROX just does go for the disengage. Not enough damage follow-up once again, and that means that the top inhibitor will go down to Kuzan.
Yeah, this is just a classic one for they can do this now. I like what Umti's doing. He bases or goes to the wave, speed it up with the Baron, make sure that you can put as much pressure as possible, make the most out of this Baron play. And now they're going to do the same, but with Jynaren, Lucian in the mid lane.
And he's even going to rotate down here to make it like, okay, you're going to engage. Well, now it's 5v5. So Shy, he tries to go for the Cataclysm, but it's just no follow-up. You get the Braum in the front, and, well, you can't really kill him fast enough. So the push continues. So that's a nice field of wards. At least they're warding a lot.
You gotta subscribe to the school of thought that if you're really far behind, you don't buy wards because you need as much damage as possible. You need all the gold you can to deal DPS. That's a terrible idea, by the way. Nobody ever do that. That was sarcastic advice.
Yes, public service announcement. We want wards in our solo queue games, please. Thank you.
Oh, I mean competitive. Solo queue is a different game. It's completely different. They look similar. It's like a manual car and an automatic. They look the same on the outside, but the reality of it is that they're completely different things. One is for filthy casuals, and then the other one is for people that truly believe in the machine.
Yeah, I guess that is true. Definitely a lot of filthy casuals in solo queue. But definitely need vision in solo queue. I feel like your bots that are on your team, the bots that you play with, sometimes they like to run into bushes if they're not warded. So definitely make sure to buy those wards so that the bots on your team know where they're going.
You're playing against bots?
No, the teammates, my teammates, they feel like bots because, you know,
I see.
they run into unwarded brushes and they're like, you know, team, where were you? Although bots don't say that, so I like bots better. Either way, we still have this push going on. Finally, it looks like they want to group up as 5 and go for this. And a big pick. That's all the pick of Jin Air that you're going to get. And make that 2. Can we get a 3 for all? Let's see if we can. A nice charm there on the backside, but not enough. And Key's going to get locked out too. Oh, the burst damage onto that guy. Kuzan is just going to rock this team.
Oh, they got him.
They actually did get him. So the ace comes through. Jin Air is going to take one of the most one-sided games we've had in a while. And that will be game number 1, going over to Jin Air over the ROX Tigers.
Easy peasy for Jin Air. They barely struggled in this one. They had full control and never let go. So the result was just as expected. 2 kills and 1 dragon away from a perfect game. Great macro is what has defined this team. Great understanding of compositions and how to utilize their spikes. They do so once more. It worked against SKT, so you're gotta bet that it's gonna work against ROX.
Yeah, these guys are on a roll, and that's why I always say don't forget them. They are in 6th place. It is going to be hard, but they still have a chance. They're still in this one for now. And if they win every single game and they get up against Afrika in the last week, I mean, this team definitely looks like a team that can take out the Afrika that we've seen in the past couple of weeks.
Well, they do have Longju as their next matchup, which is
That's the big
one
hurdle.
of our #1 teams.
The big hurdle, for sure.
And the hurdle for ROX is themselves. Laughs all around. Yeah, that was a fun one. That was funny. All right? That was a funny one.
That was funny. Ha ha. Ha ha. Yeah. I just want to see Shy troll again at this point.
Just the champion priority needs to be reassessed for the red side. It's made blue side so inherently strong with the crazy amount of OP champions that are currently available that it forces teams to practice heavily against one if they want to have a solid chance of it, at least even draft.
So these guys definitely have a lot of thinking to do as they go into game number 2. Let's take a look at some of the replays here. This was Kuzan getting ahead after dominating his lane.
He didn't even need to flash out of that one, actually. He probably could have just walked out, but this is where it all went wrong. It started with the dive from the ROX Tigers that while the Braum does go down, and while, oh, actually, he lives so long. Yeah, sure, he went down, but the rest of Jin Air was able to collapse, and they just cleaned everybody up. Look at how much damage every auto attack from Renekton does. And he flashes, but you know, somehow he flashed into the direction of the enemy team as opposed to running away from them. So this just meant that with that 8,000 gold lead, Jin Air could go for these sick tower dives and not over chasing. This is what I loved about their play. They never overcommitted, and even when they face checked, they were able to somehow walk away victorious.
Well, that's Braum for you. He's got a big shield, and he knows what to do with it, so you got to make sure you're not running into that shield.
Jesus.
Well, I'm just telling him like it is. He's got a big shield. So this is kind of the end where we're getting the summing up. Honestly, it wasn't the most exciting game we've had. And Kuzan, he decided to stop playing there right now. But anyway, lots of Infernal Drakes, lots of fire, but not the most fiery game we've had. Almost a perfect game for Jin Air in 28 minutes. And those graphs are almost touching.
It's ET.
It's so close. Just like a couple of pixels apart.
Yeah,
if you cross your eyes, it almost looks that way.
Yeah, but look at that. Rek'Sai 2.2 thousand damage done, 1,000 less than Braum, and 1,000 or 100 less than Rakana as well. So impressive stuff.
Good stuff. That's what I like to see.
I had not seen that before, so this is a new experience for me. That's how what I'm putting it down on the checkbook. Be like, new experience.
We saw that.
Rek'Sai.
We saw that out of Spurt's Jarvan in game 3.
Yeah, but that was a Jarvan. That's a different case. This is a Rek'Sai.
Okay, I see. I see. Either way, the Rek'Sai play needs to get a bit better, but As we jump into game number 2 after a quick commercial break, it will be the ROX Tigers on blue side. We'll see if they can turn it around after a quick commercial break.